Center block, one of the country's most recognized buildings. It's the crown jewel of Ottawa's Parliament buildings and a fundamental symbol of Canada. Designed in the Gothic Revival style by John Pearson, it's an architectural masterpiece. A combination of immense size and scope with painstaking artistry and craftsmanship. It's reminiscent of Westminster, and yet it's uniquely Canadian. Home to both houses of Parliament, this building is often referred to as an icon of democracy. Now this historic building is closed, undergoing the largest and most complex heritage rehabilitation project ever undertaken in Canada. And that includes two ambitious additions: a sophisticated earthquake defense system and an underground visitor welcome center connecting West Block, Center Block, and East Block. For these to happen, the front lawn of Parliament Hill has been turned into a massive excavation zone.
My name is Feore Mohajer. I'm the Senior Director of Construction on the Center Block Rehabilitation Program. My team is responsible for overseeing the construction activities on site. We provide oversight over our contractors and construction manager to make sure that we're delivering the project on time and on budget. So what you see behind me is going to house the future Parliament Welcome Center. And once we are finished, we're going to reinstate the Great Lawn, and the look and feel of Parliament Hill will remain the same as it was before, but we're going to have this amazing new structure that's going to make Parliament more open, accessible to Canadians, and sustainable. Now, in the hole behind me that you see is about 23 meters deep. We've removed about 40,000 truckloads of rock out of the hole, and it's really going to integrate the Parliament Hill campus together. It's going to connect East Block to Center Block to West Block and allow the safe movement of parliamentarians around the precinct, and at the same time give the public access to our amazing Parliament buildings. So once we're done and dusted, this will be covered up with the lawn. The Vox wall and the grand stairs that lead up to Center Block will be reinstated. And it's going to look very similar. However, there's going to be very minor adjustments that we'll see, and it's essentially going to make a universally accessible pathway from the Centennial Flame up to Parliament Hill, and you'll see around the stairs, the stairs in front of Center Block will be the entrance to Parliament Welcome Center, and that's going to be the new entrance to Parliament. The Center Block rehabilitation is very unique. The building itself is a heritage building. It's a symbol of our democracy, so we have to take great care to make sure we're not damaging the building. It's also sitting on very hard rock. And the rock is hard, but it's also layered. So it's hard to remove, but it's also hard to work with in that as we take it away, it kind of wants to flow into the hole. And as you can see behind me, we've got this kind of grid of anchors holding the rock back. So there are a lot of challenges, and the combination of all of these challenges are unique in the world. We haven't found any other project that has all of these challenges. It's essentially, we're trying to work within the limits of the building, the heritage fabric of the building, and on Parliament Hill, because it is a historic national site, you can't really build up. So what we have to do is build down, and that's the only way to connect the buildings.
Building down means digging underneath Center Block. Excavating is one of the most complicated and technically challenging parts of the entire project. For a time, Center Block will be held up by a network of over 800 temporary posts. Once excavation is complete, more than 500 base isolators will be installed. They will work as shock absorbers should an earthquake occur. It's an engineering feat that's never been attempted anywhere in the world. And it doesn't come without risks. For instance, what happens if one of the supporting beams breaks?
You always worry about that, but so what I would say is, like I said, we've brought in experts from around the world. We've checked our math a couple times, and what we do is we over-design those piles for the loads of the building. And in fact, typically they're in a cluster of 4, holding up a section of the building. And we've even designed for one of the elements of the 4 to fail, completely fail, and it would still support the structure. And what we're going to be doing is, as we excavate and remove the rock away, we're going to be bracing the piles to each other to give it that lateral stability. And we're going to have monitoring in place to make sure that we can identify any issues coming up and address them. But what I would say to that is the design has taken all of that into account.
The Centre Block project is part of a longer-term plan and vision to restore and modernize the entire parliamentary precinct.
About 20 years ago, we started doing this kind of, I call it the Game of Thrones. We had all these little battles around, you know, started with small fit-ups and then larger and larger, and eventually the 2 big ones were West Block and the Senate of Canada building. And now we're here for the big battle. And essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that the government and Parliament can still function while we're doing these major rehabilitations. However, once we are finished and Parliament moves back into Centre Block, we're going to be able to provide a modern building for Parliament to function, but also provide a building for Canadians that's safe, sustainable, and universally accessible. And I think right now is the perfect time to bring all of this together and you know, bring it to Centre Block and really make Centre Block flagship within the Government of Canada portfolio and for all Canadians.
So now we're coming from the government lobby and we're heading into the chamber. It's likely not recognizable, not at all like you would have remembered back before pre-closure. We've peeled back the heritage layers, the woodwork, the masonry has all been removed, and we've erected the scaffolding to ease a lot of the construction and the removal of the linen ceiling.
Before that work was completed, this was the House of Commons chamber, the most spacious room in Centre Block. Located on the west side, this beautiful and grand space is filled with symbolism. It's a fitting room for the heart of Parliament. The woodwork, sculptures, and stained glass all tell us a story. Construction of the chamber took place after the fire of 1916. And on February 26, 1920, the opening of Parliament happened here in the newly constructed Centre Block. Protocol dictates that this ceremony should be held in the Senate chamber, but it was not ready yet, so instead, it was held in the House of Commons chamber. And this is where members of Parliament have gathered for nearly a century since to discuss and debate the nation's most critical issues.
Order.
The decisions made here affect all our lives.
It is therefore our duty as their elected representatives to respond to these extraordinary events.
The Commons is our elected chamber.
And in my city and in our country, every young person should feel welcome.
The members of Parliament who work here represent the interests of Canadians who voted for them from far and wide.
Order, the honourable member for Papineau.
It's the foundation on which our democracy is built. Here in the Commons chamber, distinguished visitors have spoken to Parliament and the Canadian people. Winston Churchill.
Canada occupies a unique position in the British Empire because of its unbreakable ties with Britain.
John F. Kennedy.
Geography has made us neighbors. History has made us friends. Economics has made us partners. And necessity has made us allies.
Nelson Mandela.
I know that it is a rare privilege for anyone from another country to be invited to address this hallowed institution of Canadian democracy.
Barack Obama.
I could not be more honored to be joining you in this historic hall, this Cathedral of Freedom. And we Americans can never say it enough. We could not ask for a better friend or ally than Canada. We could not. We need you.
And Malala Yousafzai. All have delivered historical and powerful addresses from this chamber.
And to the young women of Canada, I want to say, let's step forward, raise your voices, and the next time I visit, I hope to see more of you filling these seats.
The chamber is now unrecognizable. It's filled with scaffolding. The walls, once covered in Tyndall limestone, have been stripped bare. Just a fraction of the green carpet left. All the heritage assets have been removed. The stained glass windows were the first to go. Then the speaker's chair, the desks, and the chandeliers.
My name is Daryl de Gramont. I am the director for the Centre Block Rehabilitation Program for the House of Commons. I manage a team of project managers, architects, and interior designers that are responsible for meeting the requirements and operational needs of the house within the implementation of the design and the final layout. The team themselves are responsible for ensuring that our service area representatives, which could be anything from food services, material handling, procedural, you name it, anyone who's involved in the Centre Block in its final state, we meet with them and they meet with them to make sure that their needs are met in the building so that we can ultimately meet the needs of our parliamentarians. Essentially, we have a grocery list of things that are essential to us and making sure that are operational and that are part of the building when we ultimately occupy the building. And for us, they come in the form of data sheets and they come in the form of requirements. And these are handed over to Public Works. And so the consultants essentially know exactly where we're coming from and what we're looking for. Early on, there were surveys that were done, public surveys that were done by Public Works, or PSPC, and those surveys demonstrated and indicated to us that the general public and people are very interested in the heritage of the building and maintaining the heritage. We met with our parliamentarians. They reiterated the same thing. So we knew that we needed to work with a certain footprint and we needed to respect the building in that way. If you want to try and accommodate the number of MPs that we have multiple options. Those options could include making it bigger, but we were very specifically told we want you to respect the footprint and we want you to respect the heritage of that space, which means that the growing number of MPs within the chamber is part of the challenge in how we actually continue to fit them within the chamber. So today we have 338 MPs that sit in West Block in Parliament. That will eventually grow to 343 when we actually move back into Centre Block. And it could be as high as 400 or 350. That all depends. The challenge is really how do you accommodate that many people? And we know that that's not going to be an instant number that will eventually have to change. It's one that will eventually grow over time. So we spoke about heritage, but we were very specifically told that accessibility was also a priority within the chamber and the rest of the building, including the lobbies. So it means that the aisles need to be wider. It means that we have to accommodate seats for people with disabilities and we have to make sure that circulation throughout the entire chamber will meet that need. That wasn't the case prior to closure. So that already puts more constraints on how many people you can put in. Ultimately, when we move back in, you will find that we will have a strategy that outlines, that says we will put back some of those desks, but we may, and this is a discussion that needs to go back to parliamentarians, look at bench seating. I'll use the UK Parliament as an example. MPs will come in, they may not have assigned seating, but you have a lot of MPs that may stand. in particular cases. We may look at adding extra seats at the end of each one of those rows so that we can continue to grow it. We may look at a phased approach where we either go all out with bench seating, or we may just look at making sure that those front heritage seats are kept, because that is really, I think, what people actually recognize in the chamber, and then you continue to evolve them going back. It's really up in the air at the moment, but there's a lot of discussion needed around that topic. When we closed the building down, I think it was very emotional for a lot of people. And primarily when we moved over to West Block, primarily MPs, obviously, or people that had worked in the building even. Administration had been here for years, so the closure of the building was a very sentimental, emotional thing for people. As such, we started to do tours of the building to bring people through, and we started to do a lot of the work, the demolition, the abatement. We found that that first year of walking through the building with people, I was really shocked to see just how emotional people were. And you would have MPs that were literally on, the verge of crying, because they just have such an emotional attachment to the building. And then on top of that, to see these layers removed over time, it's a pretty daunting thing and a little bit scary for some, but you have to reassure, and I think it goes back to the heritage question, everything is going back exactly the way it was. Nothing will have changed. In some spaces, you won't even see what those changes are.
Modelled after the British House of Lords, the Senate is the upper house in Canada's Parliament. And it's here, in Centre Block's Senate chamber, where senators have met and debated national issues for nearly a century. The Senate has a crucial role in the lawmaking process. It reviews, debates, and revises legislation introduced by both chambers.
If we don't stand up for them, then who the heck is going to?
Senators scrutinize bills passed in the House of Commons.
We have, through our amendments, perfected the bill.
They can also propose their own.
Honourable Senators, I am pleased to speak today to Bill S-233, an act to amend the Customs Act and the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act.
A bill must pass both houses, here in the Senate and the House of Commons, before it can become law.
Ordered that a message be sent to the House of Commons to acquaint that House that the Senate has passed this bill.
Senators are appointed by the Governor-General on the advice of the Prime Minister. They can serve until the mandatory retirement age of 75. From the carpet to the leather of the senators' desks to the thrones, nearly everything in this chamber is decorated in red. It's hardly surprising it's commonly known as the Red Chamber, as opposed to the green of the House of Commons. The gold ceiling, the bronze chandeliers, intricate oak paneling, and stunning red thrones all combine to create a regal space. One fit for ceremonial affairs, and one fit for royalty. After all, this is the chamber where the reigning monarch would visit when attending Parliament.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Canada's capital is the scene of an event unique in the annals of the British Commonwealth of Nations, when on the very day of their arrival, the King and Queen drive to the Parliament buildings where His Majesty is to give royal assent to legislation enacted by the Dominion Parliament. Today, Ottawa is the capital of the Empire. For not since 1854 has royal assent been given by a British sovereign in person, and never before has this ceremony taken place outside the mother country. In the Senate chamber, the King of Canada, in the presence of the representatives of every part of his dominion, sanctions the measures placed before him.
Parliamentary tradition dictates that it is only in the Senate chamber where all three elements of Parliament can assemble: the Sovereign, the Senate, and the House. Whether it's an opening of Parliament, a speech from the throne, or a royal assent ceremony to make bills into law. Events that are full of pomp, pageantry, and ancient traditions. Now the Red Chamber has been stripped to its bones, most of its heritage assets removed. Like the House of Commons chamber, it's barely recognizable now. It's filled with floor-to-ceiling scaffolding. Louise Cowley is director for the long-term vision plan for the Senate of Canada.
So when you go in now, everything's peeled back. It doesn't look the same at all, which is actually, I think, an exciting time to see it because you really get to see the bones of the building and then you'll get to see it rebuilt again. And so to really realize the extent of the renovation, I think now is an exciting time to be inside the center block. And then it'll all be pieced back together.
The Center Block project is the pinnacle of a larger, decades-long endeavor to restore and modernize the parliamentary precinct. Like members of Parliament, senators have been involved in the decision-making process.
In 2016, a subcommittee on the long-term vision and plan was created, and it consists of senators, and then they actually work with us to inform the design. We also work closely with our partners, so House of Commons, Library of Parliament, ensure all the needs are met. So we have to balance the needs of a modern Parliament. That's first and foremost. It is a place of business, but we also know it is a place for Canadians. So on our team, we're looking at what do we need, how can we do it, what are our options, and then we talk to our users and see like what's manageable, what can we do, and we work with Public Works to come up with those decisions.
One of those decisions is to make sure the Senate chamber is returned to its former glory.
In the Senate chamber, it'll look very similar in the end state, so we're going to restore a lot of the heritage features, but all the modern infrastructure will be hidden and will include lighting and broadcasting. So before there was no permanent infrastructure to broadcast in the Senate chamber, but that will be provided in the end state. And in terms of the seating arrangement will look much the same. So unlike the House of Commons, where there's constantly a changing number of parliamentarians, the Senate remains fixed. So we're going to restore the existing desks and we're going to bring them back in, and so the seating arrangement will look the same. The other thing that will come back again is the galleries. So that's the place for Canadians to really see democracy in action in the Senate chamber, but they're going to be fully rehabilitated and they're going to be fully accessible.
A new addition to the chamber will be a viewing platform.
So we're actually standing in the south gallery of the Senate chamber. We're at the 4th level right now, and the level I'm standing on is actually going to be something new we didn't have before. We're going to be enclosing this in glass, and it's going to be a viewing platform where you can look down onto what's happening in the chamber. Below us will be the galleries.
Center Block was built with 3 large courtyards. For decades, they have been unused. The plan is to now enclose these spaces, providing much-needed room.
So here we are on the roof. Over there is the West Light Court and the Hall of Honor, which will have the Hall of Honor infill. And here is the East Light Court. Come over and I'll show you what it's going to look like. So the East Courtyard is currently an exterior space, but in the end state it will be covered in glass. So the intent of light coming into the building will still remain, and it'll be open all the way down to level 2 and level 3. So you'll enter the courtyard through elevators on level 2, and then you can make your way up to level 3 to then enter into the galleries.
Meet Tamara Dolan. She was the Senate's curator during the early stages of the project.
When we look around the chamber, we can really see signs and symbols of the history of Canada.
That meant her job was to make sure that the Senate's collection of paintings, sculptures, ceremonial objects, and heritage furniture were all protected during the Center Block rehabilitation.
So the Senate's collection includes around 6,000 pieces, of which 1,000 were in Center Block prior to the closure. They're definitely the most significant pieces within the collection, like the Senate mace, as well as the furniture in the Senate chamber, the thrones, a number of artworks, portraits of the French kings, and of course the monarchs and consorts.
Before Center Block was closed, this collection of British monarchs and consorts lined the walls of the Senate foyer. In this painting, King Edward VII is portrayed. He came to Canada as Prince of Wales in 1860 and laid the cornerstone of the original Parliament buildings. King George V reigned from 1910 to 1936. And here we see Robert Swain's painting of King George VI, Queen Elizabeth II's father, who was sovereign during the Second World War. He was the first reigning monarch to set foot on Canadian soil when he toured Canada in 1939 with Queen Elizabeth, the future Queen Mother. This portrait of Queen Elizabeth II was painted in 1957, 5 years after the beginning of her reign. It's by Canadian artist Lilias Torrance Newton and is one of 2 original paintings displayed here. The other original is this full-length state portrait of Queen Victoria. Painted in 1842 by British artist John Partridge, it was acquired to hang in Montreal's Bon Secours Market, which briefly housed the Parliament of the Province of Canada. It's been rescued from 4 fires, including the 1916 fire that devastated the original center block.
Because of the size of the paintings, there was a certain challenge of getting them out of the building. So we worked with Public Services and Procurement Canada, as well as the Canadian Conservation Institute. And conservators were actually brought to Centre Block and did condition assessments of the paintings. We determined if any conservation work was needed in order to remove them from the building, because whenever we're moving something, you're introducing a new risk to the painting. What we then did is we created mock-ups of the sizes of the largest frames, and we actually used those mock-ups to walk the different routes out of the building to see, would it be best to go out of the loading dock, would it be best to go out of the front door? So then that way, on the actual date of the move themselves, the paintings were removed from the walls. We typically took the painting out of the frame itself, and then we would remove the frame and remove the painting and bring them to their final location.
Dolan and her team faced an even bigger challenge with the removal of these 8 historic paintings. Scenes from the First World War are depicted. They have hung here since 1921, and yet these paintings were not originally designed for this space. When Centre Block was officially opened on February 26, 1920, the Senate chamber was still under construction. This photo was taken inside the upper chamber. There was still much work to be done. Just under a year later, the opening of the 5th session of the 13th Parliament of Canada took place, here in the newly built Senate chamber. Painters, carpenters, and decorators worked all night to ensure that the room was ready. Many of the elaborate stone carvings and woodwork had not yet been completed, and these paintings were installed to cover the plain walls. Originally intended to be displayed in a dedicated war memorial building, these paintings became a permanent fixture here. They have dominated the walls of this chamber for over a century. And now these paintings are being removed for safekeeping and restoration. They will be stored at the Canadian War Museum.
When we think about Centre Block, the original building burnt down in 1916 when Canada was off fighting in the First World War. So as we look around the design, the memories of the First World War and the importance of paying tribute to the sacrifices of soldiers during that time period is really important. Within the Senate context, I think the war paintings are probably the most important tribute that we see and really serve as a reminder to senators when they're doing their job in terms of who they're there representing and the sacrifices of Canadians and why we have to protect our parliamentary democracy. The paintings aren't all the same size, but in general, they're about 10 feet high by around 15 feet wide, give or take a little bit, which exceeds the size of the doors. So it was quite a challenge to actually get them out of the space. We worked closely with the War Museum as well as Public Services and Procurement Canada and Fine Arts conservators in order to develop a strategy for removing them from the building. The entire scope of work took about 2 months to complete, and what we had to do is build scaffolding within the Senate chamber to access the paintings. Then 2 at a time, they were removed from the walls, placed down on a large stretcher, and then placed flat, and we actually had to remove the paintings from the stretchers, roll them on large tubes and take them out of the building, which was quite a lengthy process, and it's something that you want to make sure that you're doing properly not to cause new damage to the paintings themselves. Overall, it went really well and everyone was quite happy with how the work went, but it certainly was a challenge given the size of the doors and the size of the paintings. And we just wanted to make sure the significance of those paintings is maintained so that they can go back into center block when the Senate is ready to return.
Center block is filled with carvings and sculptures. They all relate to key moments in Canadian history. Here in Confederation Hall, intricate designs cover almost every space, depicting symbols of Canada, its flora and fauna, and the coats of arms of every province and territory. In the House of Commons foyer, we see a series of sculptures aptly entitled The History of Canada. They illustrate different stages in the development of our country, telling the story of Canada's history, social, political, and economic. Most of the carvings in Center Block are now in need of restoration. Here, we see some have been damaged by water leaks. When architect John Pearson designed the building, he deliberately left thousands of stone blocks uncarved. His intention was that future generations of sculptors would add their own stories onto the stones of Center Block, portraying Canada's history as it evolved. And for nearly a century, that's exactly what's happened. Each generation of carvers leaving their own imprint. There are now 180 uncarved blocks left. The Dominion sculptor is responsible for the maintenance of all carvings throughout the parliamentary precinct and is responsible for creating new pieces. The role was officially created in 1936. Since then, 6 people have held the title.
This is arguably the most decorated space.
Meet John Philip Smith. He's Canada's 6th Dominion sculptor. His role during the restoration of Center Block is to oversee the maintenance of all sculptural works, including all new carvings.
We're currently standing about 3 or 4 stories up on the scaffolding inside the House of Commons chamber. So we're right near the roof line, or where the ceiling is rather. And here at the very top, before it turns into the ceiling, there's a cornice that runs all around the chamber. And this is a great example of an uncarved block. So these are some of the original blocks that were left uncarved at the time and are part of the continuation of the carving program. These are part of the 188 blocks. These for us during the project are a priority because now we have scaffold in place to actually do these blocks. Otherwise, it just can't be done in normal time. So the next opportunity may be, the next major project, being 100 years or maybe longer. So we're really focused on doing carvings on these blocks. Some of the designs have been already earmarked for some of these pieces, but that doesn't mean that they're set in stone yet or carved in stone yet. So these are discussions that we have with the partners, the Senate and the House of Commons side. Work very closely with the curators, and it really is left to parliamentarians to decide as to what is ultimately carved there. It's a consultation process that evolves over time. There's a lot of initial research, design work that takes place, and it's quite a process. Part of my role is to come up with different ideas for what should be represented in those blocks, and my team as well, and also it's vice versa also. These requests can come from the Speaker's office as well. So these are things that we work together on. But I really try, and as part of my role, to keep what I personally want to see there. It's not that, it's really to represent what we feel that the nation or the people of Canada, citizens of Canada would most need to see there, or is most relevant to the country, really. Right now I'm standing in the House of Commons foyer just by the entrance, and there's a couple really interesting pieces I'd like to point out here. In 1978, Member of Parliament Wally Firth approached the Speaker at the time, James Jerome, to have pieces created and carved by Indigenous carvers to be placed into the walls of Parliament. This would later become known as the Indigenous Peoples Sculpture Program. So 10 uncarved areas were selected and earmarked for this program. To date, 9 of these carvings have been completed. One of them is here. This piece was created by Indigenous carver Joe Jacobs from Cayuga Nation. This piece is titled Creation. And on this side, we have a piece that was created by Gitxsan artist Earl Muldo. It's important to note that these carvings were completed at the carver's studios. So the blanks were shipped off to the different locations of the carvers, and they were created in their own studios. Moving forward, it's also important to note that the carvers themselves here that created these pieces and the parliamentary carvers never actually met. There was no discussion or exchange of knowledge in the different ways of carving. But moving forward, we have Indigenous carvers that will be joining our team. We'll also be working with commissioned Indigenous artists as well. And the goal then is to actually work together to share means and methods, and really work to design and come up with new themes for the future of the decorative works together. Our team's focused on 2 things. There's the new works, and then there's the restoration works. So I'll start with new works. So new works, let's say you have a blank piece of stone that's in the walls, and then you want to create something. You'd first start by doing some research, then some drawings, and then you do a clay model. And the beauty of working with clay is that you can add and subtract material. So once you've finished that sculpture, it's really exactly what you want. Then that is cast into plaster, which is then creates like a model, which is known as a maquette. So that's kind of like your hard model that you then copy into stone. And then that maquette or model kind of gets put into storage, and the finished piece gets installed or is already there if you worked it in situ. Now on the restoration side, it's very much the same, but you're trying to recreate something that was there. So you're still doing the research at the front end to try and figure out what might have been there. You're looking at historical photographs, and then you take a mold, and then you would then recreate in clay what you believe would have been there. And you have to remain true to the style and the other elements that are around that inform that sculpture. And then you have your maquette, and then you recarve the piece in stone, and it gets set back into the wall. So that's the process. It's a process that's been around for thousands of years, and yeah, it works.
One of Jean-Philippe's predecessors was Eleanor Milne. She was Canada's 3rd Dominion sculptor and held the position for over 3 decades.
She's very well known because she really did some of the more well-known series, the British North American Act series and the History of Canada series. These are the most important carved series in the building. She had a very long career as a Dominion sculptor and had a wonderful team of carvers, and she had a very interesting touch. Her background wasn't so much architectural stone carving, but she came more from a contemporary background, so she added a different kind of style. It still fell within what you could say the Gothic style, but she pushed the boundaries into something that was completely new and something that was completely herself as well. So it's really interesting to see her work and how she did it.
Milne's legacy is seen throughout the building, and that includes here in the Senate foyer. Jean-Philippe and his team are working on a new carving for this space, one to honor the late Queen Elizabeth II's 70-year reign.
This piece came about obviously with the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and we decided with consultations with the Senate to create a piece that would commemorate this monumentous occasion. And it was basically myself and the curator on the Senate side and the usher of the Black Rod. We walked through the space, and then we selected this keystone as being a really perfect place to create a decorative representation of that event. The first step was really looking at this keystone and trying to figure out what we could do within the space that it provided. Also, we had the Platinum Jubilee emblem that was created here in Canada for commemorating that occasion. So we know we wanted to include that into the piece and at the center of it. So that was good. We were partway there, but we felt that it needed something a little extra along the sides. And it was suggested from the Senate side that perhaps we could add some foliage, and Her Majesty's favorite flower was the lily of the valley. So I believe that the Senate checked with Buckingham Palace to see if that was okay, and it was. So then we went ahead and created the emblem that's kind of supported by this lily of the valley. So with that, I did a drawing, and then it was approved, and I moved to actually sculpting it in clay, life size. It is bigger than obviously a lily of the valley. It's quite a small flower, but again, given its location, we wanted to make sure that it's really as legible as possible. And that's something that's really important when it comes to architectural sculpture, is legibility. So yeah, that's how it came about. And now we have a model, and we're hoping to start carving it fairly soon.
Jean-Philippe and his team are also responsible for the repair and restoration of the stone carvings on the exterior walls of Centre Block.
Right now we're looking at the west facade of Centre Block, and this facade is the one that really gets the brunt of the prevailing winds, and where we're finding that there's the most amount of deterioration when it comes to all kinds of masonry elements, and of course I'm looking at the sculptural elements, and we're seeing some missing elements, some elements that are getting some extensive deterioration. It's hard to tell what was there before. So if we look up, there's a small flying buttress here, and at the very top of at the front end of the buttress, there's a pinnacle that kind of goes up to a point, and that point, which is the finial, is completely missing. We don't really have any photographic evidence of what was there before. What we were able to do is go back to the original drawings from Pearson and see a design for a finial. So from that, we were able to create a model, and then we're going to actually replicate that and carve it in stone. And then once the scaffold is put up here, it'll be set back in place by the stonemasons. There's a number of elements along this facade here that are missing. There's some fleur-de-lis along all of these capstones. This pinnacle on the far side is particularly bad shape. There's a number of intricate carvings there that need to be replaced as well.
After nearly a century of exposure to Ottawa's extreme weather, the building's heritage masonry is deteriorating. It's a massive undertaking. 20,000 square meters of masonry surface to be cleaned. That's about 365,000 stones that must be removed for repair or replacement. Jeff Meek is one of the project managers working on the masonry restoration.
As we continue around, so you can see on these stones a lot of weathering, very much likely due to wind and rain, because we are in the northwest corner of the building. We get a great deal of wind exposure, and it, often in combination with water and freeze thaw, it weathers away the stones. Again, you can see in here, it's almost kind of concaved right out. And this is actually not the worst example I've seen. We have others elsewhere in the building where you could stick your hand inside the stone, and there's almost like a T-handle on there. The approaches over the years have been very much an ad hoc type of approach. So if you can imagine up till the restorations in the 2000s and 2010s before the library, it's a lot of sporadic maintenance campaigns where they just deal with some unique parts, and again, other projects just basically tiding the building over until the big job. But now the big job's here, we're taking the holistic restoration approach.
And of course, that big job is the current Centre Block project.
We started in, I believe, 2019 area with some of the more enabling projects. So you might have remembered there was a very large stone retaining wall in the front lawn. So that was the first thing that we did. We removed that very carefully, disassembled it and sent it to storage. That allowed, among a number of other things, allowed us to mobilize the center block construction site, which led into a variety of what we call them preliminary works. One of those preliminary works was the masonry restoration of the north wall, which we're looking at right now. So the north wall started in, I believe it was circa 2020, and took just about a year and a half. So that's complete now, and as you can see here, the stones have all been cleaned, the mortar's been restored. And as we progress into the rest of the building, we're moving basically from the north to the east and the west and around to the south. So generally speaking, the masonry follows a pretty linear sequence. So when we arrive, it looks much different than this. The stones are quite dark. In some cases, you'll see the mortar is actually chipping and falling out of the wall. So the first step that we come and do is all of the joints are very carefully, it's called raked or kind of scraped out. So each of these joints here, you can see they look all nice and fresh now. They've all been raked out over the first couple months of the job. Then we advance into something unique about the center block is the structure has a number of steel components. So as we go across the wall, we expose, they're called the ends. So if you can imagine a beam that comes straight out of the building and terminates somewhere close to the end of the wall, we expose that, we check the condition of it, and then we clean and repair it if necessary, and we rebuild the wall around it. So again, that's not necessarily all buildings require this, but the center block in particular does. And then back to the traditional more masonry work, this is a very time-intensive process. In fact, on the north wall, there were about just over 20 kilometers of mortar joints that were raked and repointed. And again, that's representing the north wall, not the building as a whole. So it is a very, very large-scale project.
And for this large-scale project, laser technology is being used, a 21st century solution for a medieval craft.
At a very high level, it ablates, so it's like a heat, essentially, and it's almost something out of sci-fi. It is a laser. We point at the building and essentially burn off the dirt.
As with most of the work being done here, ensuring the building is restored to its historic look is integral to the project. And that includes the stonework. It's all about getting as close to the original as possible. So
when we replace the stone, we generally try and use the same material if it's available. If not, we look for, rather our conservators look for material that is from the same geological deposit. So for the masonry in particular, the exterior masonry in particular, we have 3 stone types on the wall. So Borea, which is all of the decorative elements that you see, the band courses here, the window surrounds, the sculptures, and some of these kind of gable looking items up towards the end. That is sourced from Cleveland, Ohio, and is very similar to the material that was originally used to construct the building. The infill or the field stone, so all of these stones in between the decorative elements. So those are originally from a quarry in Nepean, Ontario. That quarry has long since closed. And we now use what's called St. Canute stone, which is from a quarry near Mirabel, Quebec, the St. Canute quarry, Les Pierres St. Canute. And it is very similar geologically to the stone, and again, aesthetically, it's almost the same. The other quarry, or the stone type that you don't see on this wall is Wallace. Wallace tends to be around some door surrounds. You see a lot more Wallace on the Peace Tower on the south. The Wallace is actually from the Wallace quarry still in Nova Scotia, when we have an agreement to purchase from them as well. And a number of stones in the interior where a similar process is undertaken, where they assess if we can get the same, if not, how close can we get to the original.
While masonry work continues, printed decorative tarps, known as trompe-l'œil, are being installed. Trompe-l'œil translates as to trick the eye.
So the idea, at least from a visitor experience perspective, is we have thousands of tourists that visit Parliament Hill each year. They don't likely want to come and see a giant white tarp in front of this monument. They may have traveled thousands of kilometers to see. In addition to, there's very particular view sheds from all over Ottawa where Parliament is a very iconic building. So the trompe-l'œil is essentially a print or graphical representation of the wall behind it. So the idea when you look at it is that you're essentially looking at the same wall, And right now you'll notice it is only on the north, and that's because we only have scaffold on the north. So as we continue around the building, this trompe-l'oeil will follow the scaffold.
These decorative tarps serve many purposes. They also protect workers from extreme weather conditions, ensuring work can continue through all seasons.
The tarping on the scaffold serves a couple purposes. One is with restoring the wall, we generate a lot of dust. So if you can imagine, we do want to contain that dust, and there are a number of safety protocols in place to make sure workers are protected, so they have to wear respirators and all these types of things. It's also critical for the work itself. So if you can imagine mixing mortar, which is essentially like a cement, it has to cure in very particular climate conditions, so specific temperatures and humidities. Without the tarp on the building, we can't achieve those temperatures. It would vary too much, and it would very much restrict our work hours. So the trompe-l'oeil and the tarp itself allows us to moderate the climate within the scaffold and essentially ensure continuous work.
As work continues to repair, upgrade, and modernize, we will document the fascinating journey of Centre Block's restoration from start to finish. It's an insider's view of one of the most complex and challenging rehabilitation projects ever undertaken in the world.
It's likely not recognizable.
This is once-in-a-lifetime, behind-the-scenes access to the restoration of one of Canada's most loved and recognized heritage buildings. Centre Block, an icon of our nation's past, present, and future.